The ground beneath your feet used to be a given, a solid foundation that you never had to think twice about. You moved with a natural rhythm, your legs responding to every command your brain sent without a moment of hesitation. But lately, something has shifted. Perhaps you noticed it when you tried to stand up from a low chair and felt a strange, heavy resistance in your thighs. Maybe it was a sudden, terrifying moment of instability while walking down a flight of stairs, or the realization that your stride has become shorter and more cautious. This is the silent crisis of fading lower body strength, a phenomenon that millions of seniors face but few truly understand. It is often dismissed as an inevitable part of getting older, a slow and steady decline that we are told to simply accept. But I am here to tell you that this mindset is not only wrong, it is dangerous. When your legs stop working like they used to, it is not just a sign of a passing birthday. It is a critical warning from your body that your foundation is fracturing. The loss of mobility is the single greatest threat to your independence and your dignity. It begins with a slight tremor or a bit of fatigue, but if left unaddressed, it leads to a world that keeps getting smaller, eventually confined to the four walls of your home. You must realize that your legs are the engines of your freedom. They are what allow you to play with your grandchildren, to walk through a park, and to maintain your autonomy. The truth is that your legs are failing because of specific, identifiable physiological changes that can be interrupted and, in many cases, reversed. We are going to strip away the myths of aging and look at the raw mechanics of why you feel like you are losing your footing. This is not about accepting a slower pace of life. It is about identifying the biological rot that is eating away at your strength and taking decisive action to stop it. If you have felt your knees buckle or your ankles wobble, you are standing at a crossroads. You can either follow the path of least resistance into a wheelchair, or you can arm yourself with the knowledge of why this is happening and fight to reclaim the strength that is rightfully yours. Your body is a masterpiece of engineering, but even the best machines require maintenance when the gears begin to grind. We are going to explore the 5 primary reasons your legs are betraying you, and more importantly, we are going to discuss exactly how to rebuild that lost power. This journey begins with understanding that your weakness is not a life sentence. It is a biological puzzle that we are going to solve together, starting right now, because every day you wait is another day that your muscles forget how to carry you. We are going to bridge the gap between where you are now and the version of yourself that can walk with confidence once again. The stakes are too high to ignore the tremors in your calves or the stiffness in your hips. Your life depends on your ability to move, and it is time to take your power back. The first and perhaps most aggressive thief of your mobility is a condition known as sarcopenia. While it sounds like a complex medical term, it describes a very simple and brutal reality: the literal wasting away of your muscle tissue. Starting as early as your 30s, your body begins a slow process of shedding muscle mass. But as you cross the threshold of 60 and 70, this process shifts into overdrive. It is not just about having smaller muscles. It is about the loss of specific types of muscle fibers that are responsible for your safety. Your body contains 2 main types of fibers: slow twitch and fast twitch. Slow twitch fibers help you endure long walks, but it is the fast twitch fibers that save you from a fall. They are the ones that fire instantly when you trip on a rug or lose your balance on a curb. In the aging body, these fast twitch fibers are the first to disappear. When they vanish, your legs lose their snap. You might feel like you are walking through mud, or that your legs simply cannot move fast enough to keep up with your brain's commands. This loss of power is why many seniors find it nearly impossible to get out of a deep sofa or a car seat without using their arms for leverage. Your quadriceps and glutes, the largest and most powerful muscles in your body, are becoming thin and marbled with fat. This is not just a cosmetic issue. It is a structural failure. Without these muscles to act as shock absorbers, every step you take sends a jarring force directly into your joints, accelerating wear and tear. The danger of sarcopenia is that it often happens under the cover of a stable body weight. You might look the same in the mirror, but the quality of the tissue beneath your skin has fundamentally changed. Muscle is being replaced by inactive tissue that cannot contract or produce force. This metabolic shift also makes you more susceptible to fatigue, as the remaining muscle fibers have to work twice as hard to carry the same body weight. It creates a vicious cycle where moving becomes difficult, so you move less, which in turn causes you to lose even more muscle. This downward spiral is what leads to the frailty that society tells us is normal for the elderly. But science tells a different story. Research has proven that muscle tissue remains plastic and capable of growth even into your 90s. The reason your legs are stopping is not because they are too old to work, but because they have been starved of the stimulus they need to survive. Your body is highly efficient. If you do not demand that your muscles lift weight or push against resistance, your body will harvest those proteins for other uses. To stop the rot of sarcopenia, you must convince your nervous system that these muscles are still essential for your survival. When you understand that your weakness is a result of cellular atrophy rather than a ticking clock, you realize that you have the power to intervene. Rebuilding this lost mass requires a specific approach to nutrition and movement that emphasizes protein intake and resistance. It is about waking up those dormant, fast-twitch fibers and forcing them to reconnect with your nervous system. You are not just exercising for the sake of health, you are performing a biological rescue mission for your independence. If you can stop the drain of muscle mass, you can stop the buckling of your knees and the instability of your gait. The foundation of your house is being eaten by termites, but you have the tools to replace the wood and reinforce the beams before the structure collapses. While muscle mass provides the engine, the electrical system of your body is what truly dictates how you move. This brings us to the second and perhaps most overlooked reason your legs fail: the breakdown of communication between your brain and your feet. Think of your nervous system as a complex network of high-speed fiber optic cables. Every step you take requires a lightning-fast exchange of data. Your brain sends a signal down the spinal cord, through the peripheral nerves, and finally to the motor units in your legs. In a healthy young body, this happens in milliseconds. However, as we age, these cables begin to fray and the signals start to lag. This is not just about moving slowly, it is about the neural drive becoming weak and disorganized. When you feel like your legs are heavy or unresponsive, you are experiencing a misfire in this electrical system. The number of motor neurons, the nerve cells that control your muscles, actually decreases as you get older. When a motor neuron dies, the muscle fibers it once controlled are left orphaned. Your body tries to compensate by having surviving neurons reach out and adopt these abandoned fibers. But this makes the remaining nerves overworked and less precise. This is why you might experience a sudden giving out of the knee or a stumble on perfectly flat ground. Your brain sent the command to contract, but the signal arrived too late or too weak to support your weight. Beyond the outgoing signals, there is the issue of incoming data, specifically a sense called proprioception. This is your body's ability to perceive its own position in space without looking. Inside your joints, tendons, and muscles are tiny sensors called mechanoreceptors. They constantly tell your brain exactly where your feet are and how much pressure is on your toes. In many seniors, these sensors become dull. If your brain cannot see your feet through these sensors, it becomes hesitant to move them. This results in the classic shuffling gait, where you keep your feet close to the ground because your brain is terrified of losing contact with the floor. You aren't just getting clumsy, your internal GPS is losing its signal. This neurological decline is often compounded by peripheral neuropathy, a condition frequently seen in those with circulatory issues or blood sugar imbalances. When the nerves in your feet go numb or start to tingle, you lose the vital feedback needed to navigate uneven surfaces. Imagine trying to walk while wearing thick wooden clogs. That is what your brain feels when your sensory nerves are failing. Without that crisp, clear feedback from the soles of your feet, your balance is compromised at the most fundamental level. This lack of feel is why many elderly people feel safer looking down at their feet while walking, which ironically shifts their center of gravity forward and increases the risk of a forward fall. The good news is that the nervous system is incredibly adaptable, a concept known as neuroplasticity. Just as you can build muscle, you can sharpen your nervous system through specific balance challenges and coordination drills. You can force your brain to find new pathways and strengthen the existing ones. When you practice standing on one leg or walking heel to toe, you are not just exercising muscles, you are recalibrating your internal sensors. You are teaching your brain to trust the signals coming from your ankles and knees again. You are cleaning the corrosion off the battery terminals of your body so the power can flow freely once more. By focusing on the brain-body connection, you address the root of the heavy leg sensation. You move from a state of reactive, fearful walking to a state of proactive, confident movement. Your legs stop being a source of anxiety and start being the reliable tools they were meant to be. If you can restore the clarity of the signal, you can restore the stability of the stride. It is time to stop blaming your age and start focusing on the communication lines that keep you upright. The third reason your legs are failing is perhaps the most deceptive because it involves a protective mechanism of the brain that backfires. This is the pain inhibition cycle caused by joint degeneration, specifically osteoarthritis of the knees and hips. Most people believe that joint pain is simply something that hurts when you move, but the reality is much more insidious. When a joint becomes inflamed or the cartilage wears thin, the nerves surrounding that joint send a constant stream of distress signals to your spinal cord. In an attempt to protect you from further injury, your brain performs what is essentially a tactical shutdown of the muscles crossing that joint. This phenomenon is known as arthrogenic muscle inhibition. If your knee is swollen or painful, your brain will reflexively refuse to fully activate your quadriceps. It is as if your brain is cutting the power lines to the very muscles you need to stay upright. You might try to stand up or take a step, and suddenly your leg feels like it has turned to jelly. This isn't because the muscle itself has disappeared overnight. It is because your nervous system is breaking the movement to prevent what it perceives as a dangerous load on a damaged joint. Over time, this chronic lack of activation leads to rapid muscle wasting, which in turn leaves the joint with even less support, creating a devastating loop of decline. When your muscles are inhibited by pain, your gait changes fundamentally. You begin to limp or shift your weight to the good leg, which places an abnormal mechanical stress on your other hip, your lower back, and even your ankles. This compensation might offer temporary relief, but it eventually leads to a total breakdown of your biomechanics. You lose the ability to fully extend your hip or straighten your knee, resulting in a permanent crouched posture. This flexed position is incredibly inefficient. It requires your muscles to work twice as hard just to keep you standing, leading to the rapid leg fatigue that many seniors report after walking only a few dozen yards. Furthermore, chronic inflammation in the joints doesn't just stay in the joints. It releases systemic markers that can actually interfere with muscle protein synthesis. This means that if your joints are constantly angry and swollen, it becomes biologically harder for your body to build or even maintain the muscle you already have. You are essentially fighting an uphill battle against your own chemistry. Many seniors react to this by resting more, thinking they are saving their joints. However, motion is lotion for the human body. Complete inactivity is the fastest way to turn a stiff joint into a frozen one and an inhibited muscle into a useless one. Breaking this cycle requires a sophisticated approach to movement. You have to convince your brain that the joint is safe enough to allow the muscles to fire again. This is achieved through isometric exercises, contractions where the muscle works but the joint doesn't move, and low-impact strengthening that doesn't trigger the pain inhibition response. By strengthening the muscles around the joint, you create a natural brace that offloads the pressure from the bone and cartilage. When the muscles are strong, they absorb the shock of each step, allowing the joint to glide more smoothly and with less inflammation. You must stop viewing joint pain as a signal to stop moving and start viewing it as a signal to move differently. Your joints are not like the tires on a car that simply wear out with mileage. They are living tissues that require movement to stay lubricated and healthy. When you restore the strength of the surrounding musculature, you give your brain the green light to restore full power to your legs. You are moving from a state of structural fragility to a state of functional resilience, ensuring that your joints serve you rather than enslave you. The fourth reason your legs may feel like they are turning into lead is a breakdown in your internal delivery system, specifically your peripheral circulation and aerobic endurance. To move your legs, your muscles require a constant high-speed delivery of oxygen and nutrients. This is handled by a vast network of arteries and capillaries that must remain flexible and clear. However, as we age, the efficiency of this delivery system often declines due to a thickening of the arterial walls or a reduction in capillary density. When your muscles are starved of oxygen, they cannot produce the energy needed to sustain movement, leading to that heavy, burning sensation in your calves and thighs after walking only a short distance. This condition, often referred to as vascular insufficiency, is more than just a matter of feeling tired. It is a biological bottleneck. When the blood flow to your lower extremities is compromised, your muscles switch from aerobic metabolism to anaerobic metabolism much faster than they used to. This produces lactic acid and other metabolic byproducts that trigger pain and fatigue, forcing you to sit down and rest. You might find yourself window shopping not because you are interested in the displays, but because your legs literally demand a pause to catch up on their oxygen debt. This lack of endurance creates a psychological barrier to movement as you begin to fear any distance that might leave you stranded or in pain. Furthermore, the pump that returns blood from your legs to your heart relies heavily on the strength of your calf muscles. Every time you take a step, your calf muscles contract and squeeze the veins, pushing blood upward against gravity. When your legs are weak or inactive, this second heart fails to function properly. Blood begins to pool in the lower legs and ankles, leading to swelling, inflammation, and a persistent feeling of physical weight. This creates a sluggish environment where cellular waste is not removed efficiently, further damaging the muscle tissue and making the legs feel even more unresponsive. Coupled with these circulatory changes is the natural decline in your VO2 max, which is the maximum amount of oxygen your body can utilize during exercise. Without regular cardiovascular challenge, your heart becomes less efficient at pumping blood, and your lungs become less elastic. For many seniors, the weakness they feel in their legs is actually a sign that their heart and lungs are struggling to keep up with the demands of the lower body. Your legs are the largest consumers of oxygen in your entire system. If the supply chain is broken at the heart or the lungs, the legs are the first to suffer the consequences. However, the circulatory system is remarkably responsive to the right kind of stress. Just as your muscles can grow, your body can actually create new capillaries and improve the elasticity of your vessels through consistent, low-intensity movement. This is known as angiogenesis, the birth of new blood vessels. By engaging in Zone 2 activities, such as brisk walking or cycling, you are literally expanding the highway system that feeds your legs. You are clearing out the congestion and ensuring that every muscle fiber has a direct line to the oxygen it needs to perform. Reclaiming your endurance is not about running marathons. It is about building pacing and flow. It is about teaching your body to remain in an aerobic state for longer periods, preventing the buildup of fatigue-inducing acids. When you improve your circulation, you aren't just helping your heart. You are giving your legs the fuel they need to carry you through the day without protest. You are moving from a state of metabolic crisis to a state of sustained energy, ensuring that your legs have the stamina to match your spirit. Your mobility is a product of your internal chemistry, and you have the power to change that chemistry one step at a time. The fifth and final reason your legs seem to fail you is the gradual erosion of your balance and postural control. This is not just a matter of muscle strength. It is a sophisticated failure of your body's orientation system. Balance is a complex calculation performed by your brain using three primary inputs: your eyes, your inner ear's vestibular system, and the sensory nerves in your feet. As we age, these three systems often begin to provide conflicting data. Your vision may blur, the crystals in your inner ear may shift, and the skin on the soles of your feet may lose its sensitivity. When the brain receives garbled information from these sources, it becomes hesitant, leading to a stiff, robotic way of walking that actually increases your risk of falling. When you lose confidence in your balance, your body adopts a fear-based movement pattern, You likely begin to stare at the ground directly in front of your toes, which rounds your shoulders and shifts your center of gravity forward. This posture makes it nearly impossible for your hip muscles to fire correctly, forcing your lower back and knees to take the brunt of your weight. You might find yourself furniture walking, reaching out for walls or tables as you move through your home. This habit, while providing a temporary sense of security, actually trains your brain to stop relying on your internal balance mechanisms. Your nervous system effectively forgets how to keep you upright without external help. This decline is often exacerbated by a loss of ankle mobility. If your ankles are stiff, your body cannot make the tiny, lightning-fast micro-adjustments needed to stay balanced on uneven surfaces. Instead of a fluid sway at the ankle, your body is forced to use a hip strategy, where you jerk your upper body to stay upright. This is much slower and far less stable. Many seniors who believe their legs are weak are actually suffering from stiff system syndrome, where the joints are so locked up that the muscles cannot react quickly enough to a stumble. Your legs feel like heavy pillars rather than the dynamic, spring-like structures they were designed to be. Furthermore, the loss of core stability plays a hidden role in leg failure. Your legs are attached to your pelvis, which is anchored by your core. If your midsection is weak, your legs have no stable base from which to push. It is like trying to jump off a boat versus jumping off solid ground. Without a firm anchor, the power of your legs is dissipated. This lack of proximal stability leads to distal mobility issues, meaning your legs have to work significantly harder just to keep you from toppling over. This constant low-level tension in the legs leads to chronic fatigue and a feeling of being worn out after doing very little. The exciting truth is that balance is a skill, not a fixed trait. It can be sharpened at any age through targeted proprioceptive training. By intentionally challenging your balance in a safe environment, you force your brain to integrate the signals from your eyes, ears, and feet more efficiently. You can wake up the nerves in your feet and restore the flexibility of your ankles. When you retrain your balance, you are essentially upgrading the software that runs your physical hardware. You move from a state of constant subconscious anxiety about falling to a state of quiet confidence in your ability to navigate the world. Reclaiming your balance is the final piece of the puzzle in restoring your mobility. It is what connects your muscle strength, your neural drive, and your joint health into a single, cohesive system. When your balance is restored, your gait becomes longer, your head stays up, and your legs feel light and responsive once again. You are no longer a victim of gravity. You are its master. By addressing the sensory and structural components of balance, you ensure that your foundation is not just strong, but intelligent and adaptable to any surface life throws your way. Now that we have identified the biological culprit stealing your mobility, we must pivot from understanding to action. The most important truth you can embrace today is that your legs are not broken. They are simply detrained. To restart the engine of your lower body, you do not need expensive gym memberships or high-impact aerobics that jar your joints. You need a systematic approach to movement that addresses the specific failures of muscle, nerve, and balance we have discussed. The following movements are designed to be performed in the safety of your own home, using nothing more than a sturdy chair and your own body weight. These are not just exercises. They are neurological and physical resets. The first and most critical movement is the sit-to-stand. This is the ultimate functional test of independence. To do this correctly, sit on the edge of a firm chair with your feet shoulder-width apart and tucked slightly back. Instead of using your arms to push off the chair, cross them over your chest. Lean your torso forward slightly to bring your weight over your midfoot, and then drive through your heels to stand up tall. The secret to rebuilding power is in the descent. Lower yourself back down as slowly as possible, counting to 4 before your glutes touch the seat. This slow, eccentric phase is what triggers the growth of those vital muscle fibers and forces your nervous system to stay engaged throughout the entire range of motion. Next, we must address the neural lag and ankle stability through a movement called the heel-to-toe raise. Stand behind your chair and hold onto the back for light support. Slowly rise up onto the balls of your feet, holding the peak tension for 2 seconds, then lower back down. Immediately pull your toes up toward your shins so that you are balancing briefly on your heels. This simple rocking motion strengthens the calves and the muscles on the front of your shins, which are responsible for lifting your feet clear of the ground. By strengthening these, you eliminate the shuffling that leads to trips and falls. You are essentially sharpening the communication between your brain and your ankles. To combat the balance erosion we discussed, you must practice the tandem stand and the single leg hold. Imagine you are standing on a tightrope, placing the heel of one foot directly against the toes of the other. Hold this position while looking straight ahead, not at the floor. If this is easy, try to let go of the chair for a few seconds at a time. This forces your brain to integrate sensory data from your inner ear and your feet simultaneously. To progress, lift one foot off the ground entirely. These isometric holds build proximal stability in your hips and core, providing the solid anchor your legs need to move efficiently. You are teaching your body to find its center of gravity without external help. Finally, we must address the pain inhibition in your knees through terminal knee extensions. While standing, place a small rolled-up towel behind one knee and press your leg back against it to straighten the limb fully, squeezing your thigh muscle as hard as you can for 5 seconds. This wakes up the vastus medialis, the teardrop-shaped muscle that stabilizes the kneecap. When this muscle is strong, it acts as a natural brace, reducing the grinding and inflammation that causes your brain to shut down your leg power. Consistency is the only currency that matters in this process. Your body will not adapt to a single intense session. It adapts to the persistent message that these movements are necessary. Start with 5 repetitions of each movement twice a day. As your confidence grows, so will your strength. You are not just doing calisthenics, you are rewriting the script of your physical future. You are proving to your nervous system that you are still capable of power, precision, and poise. By taking these small, deliberate steps every day, you are building the momentum needed to walk back into a life of full, uninhibited freedom. As we bring this journey to a close, it is vital that you understand one final truth. The weakness you have felt in your legs is not a betrayal by your body, but a call to action. We live in a society that often treats the elderly as if they are fragile glass, encouraging a life of taking it easy and avoiding strain. But the biological reality is that your body is an adaptive organism that responds to demand. When you stop demanding that your legs carry you, they simply follow the instructions you have given them. They shrink, they lose their electrical spark, and they become hesitant. Your mobility is not something that is taken away by the passage of time. It is something that is surrendered through a lack of challenge. Reclaiming your strength is a declaration of your physical dignity. It is a refusal to let your world be defined by the distance between your bed and your favorite chair. Every sit to stand you perform, every balance hold you practice, and every brisk walk you take is a strike against the encroaching shadows of dependency. You are not just building muscle, you are building the capacity to be present in your own life. You are ensuring that you can still stand tall at family gatherings, walk through the grocery store without leaning on a cart for support, and step out onto your porch to feel the sun on your face without fear of falling. This manifesto for movement is about more than just avoiding a wheelchair. It is about the psychological liberation that comes from knowing your foundation is secure. When you trust your legs, your entire posture changes. Your head comes up, your shoulders move back, and you stop looking at the ground as if it were a minefield. This shift in physical presence has a profound impact on your mental health and your sense of self-worth. You are moving from a state of surviving your aging process to a state of thriving within it. You are proving that the human spirit does not have an expiration date and that the physical vessel can be maintained with care and discipline. Do not be discouraged if your progress feels slow at first. Remember that the biological rot we discussed took years, perhaps decades, to set in. You are reversing a long-term trend, and that requires patience. However, your body is remarkably forgiving. Even in your 70s, 80s, or 90s, your muscles and nerves are waiting for the signal to grow. They are ready to respond the moment you decide to challenge them. You are the architect of your own mobility, and the blueprints for a stronger, more stable version of yourself are already encoded in your DNA. All you have to do is provide the effort and the consistency. Let this be the day you stop making excuses for your legs and start giving them the work they crave. Stop blaming old age for a problem that has a biological solution. Your legs are the pillars of your independence, and they are worth every ounce of effort you put into them. When you stand up from your chair after watching this, do it with intention. Feel the muscles in your thighs engage. Feel the grip of your feet on the floor, and recognize the power that still resides within you. You have the knowledge, you have the tools, and most importantly, you have the right to move through this world with confidence. The story of your life is still being written, and you are the one holding the pen. Do not let the final chapters be defined by a loss of footing. Instead, let them be defined by a renewed strength and a steadfast refusal to stay seated. Your journey toward a stronger foundation starts with a single, deliberate step. Take that step today, and then take another tomorrow. Your freedom is waiting for you, and it is built on the strength of your own two legs. Walk forward with pride, walk forward with purpose, and never let anyone tell you that you are too old to stand your ground.